The saga continues, and it has nowhere to go for Nico but down.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest and craziest sport on planet Earth. Has Colorado improved in the portal? And some thoughts on a couple of former five-stars who are not going to make it. Is Nico Iamaleava one of those guys? Yeah, that depends on how you define make it. I define this episode as being brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So, yesterday was chaotic and hectic because all of a sudden, Nico to UCLA. Colin Cowherd said, done deal. Other outlets picked it up. Oh, it's happening. See, Cowherd said it over here. Yep, he's going to UCLA. No, that's not how it all went down. An offer was made that is reportedly less than what Nico was going to be getting at Tennessee from UCLA, a school that has not sniffed the college football playoff since its inception in the 2014 football season and is not close to doing so. And Deshaun Foster is currently rebuilding the whole situation. That's the most likely outcome here. This is just getting worse and worse and worse. Because here are two reasons why. Reason number one. It is becoming abundantly clear that high-end programs, either at the Group of Five level, Tulane, or North Carolina, think of them what you want, they're an ACC school, are willing to say no to this situation, which drives Nico's price down. The longer this goes on, the less leverage he has, because the fewer options he appears to have. This is a monumental moment in all of college football, where schools and coaches across the country, did you see what Fran Brown said over at Syracuse the other day? He said, we're not paying a receiver $2 million, and his leading receiver, one of them from a year ago, is in the transfer portal now. He's like, yeah, we're not paying $2 million for a wide receiver. Bye. That's not what we're about. We're giving you plenty. This is what I'm talking about with a snowball effect. So financially, the offers are not going to get better for Nico, number one. Number two, the caliber of school that's going to come in and offer him is also just going to decline. This whole ordeal, I just saw a third reason too. This whole ordeal is not going to result in Nico playing the highest caliber football. I don't think NIL-wise it would work. I don't know if Sean Lewis would want to go for it. San Diego State, to me, could make sense if Nico truly wants to go home. Of the programs in the state that are not USC and UCLA that are in need of a quarterback, I mean, he's not going to Stanford, so let's rule that one out right now. Could you imagine that? Frank Reich coaching Nico? Yeah, okay, no, that's not even worth imagining because that's never going to happen. But you take out the LA schools, you take out the Bay Area schools, you are left with San Diego State is maybe the best option, or Fresno State. But playing in the Group of Five ranks, you think you're getting anywhere close to the $2.2, $2.4-ish million you were getting in NIL at Tennessee? No, it's all just going way downhill. The third thing that I thought of as I'm recording the show that makes this just a continually worse situation for Nico is his image has been permanently tarnished, and he has to undergo a serious reclamation project. Whether that's his fault, whether that's his camp's fault, blame whoever you'd like. That's the reality on the ground. It is getting worse day by day. Programs are saying no thanks. The money's not going to be there. And schools are going to be interested in him because he's a high-profile player, and he is tremendously talented. Let's not forget, he wasn't a five-star quarterback for no reason. He started this past year at Tennessee, and he had a good enough year to get him to the playoff. Did he reach his full potential? No, he's not there quite yet. But the just absurdity that came out yesterday from Nico's camp of, it's not about the money, it's about the offense. Oh my gosh. this is contributing to the third point that I'm making here. The idea that you suddenly want to claim it as, nope, wasn't about NIL at all. Okay. Really? Then why were there reports? Was every reporter that said he's looking for a bigger NIL deal, were they just all lying? Because if so, that'd be a heck of a story. I get the sense they're not. You just see how negative this is all becoming and how the PR circle is a nightmare and the vultures are out and you're trying to shift the tide any way you can. And that quote that was flying around yesterday wasn't about the money. It was about Tennessee's offense. They didn't have enough receivers. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Squirrel White and Dante Thornton? That wasn't good enough? Really? Dylan Sampson at running back, one of the best in the entire country? The offensive line wasn't good enough. We didn't like the system. Wait. So you're claiming, if your claim is Tennessee wasn't supporting Nico enough, and your answer is to go to UCLA? You've got to be joking. I like the Tino Sinceri hire for UCLA coming over from Indiana to be their offensive coordinator. I think that's a better direction in college football than bringing in Eric Bieniemy, who didn't last the full season in 2024. You cannot sit there and tell me that UCLA, roster-wise or coaching-wise, is guaranteed at all to be better than what you just had with Josh Heupel at Tennessee. And when these reports came out last week at first, that Nico wasn't happy and, he was wanting to go somewhere, he was wanting a bigger deal and all that, my initial take was, you better not leave Josh Heupel because it's not going to get better. This is the spring portal window, not the winter window. The options would be far more plentiful. I saw Pete Thamel making this point on the Pat McAfee show the other day, that the market has dried up. There isn't the same demand for quarterbacks that there was in the winter. Why? Because we already played that game of musical chairs, and all the chairs have a butt in the seat. All the big ones out there. And then you consider, we can't go to another SEC school, so that leaves you ACC, Big 12, or Big 10. Well, who still needs a quarterback in the spring? Teams that are not well positioned to succeed. And typically today, teams that are not well positioned to succeed are not ponying up buku bucks in NIL for one particular player. That was always plain and obvious. That this was so inevitable and easy to see, but those involved in the situation directly weren't able to see that it wasn't going to work out. I really don't know how. I truly have no conscionable idea how you thought this was going to improve his situation as a person and as a football player. How is this getting him closer to being a top NFL draft pick? How is this getting him closer to becoming a better person? Which is what we all are trying to do in college, right? We're trying to grow. What's he doing here? I guess he's handling adversity or learning to deal with it, because boy, this is a bleep storm like we just haven't seen, and his image has radically shifted in less than 10 days. Less than 10 days. This has been going on, and it's not done yet, because UCLA reportedly made an offer, which I don't think makes any sense, but okay. UCLA makes an offer. Is that the best one you're going to get? It's below what he was getting at Tennessee, not what they're going to be looking for in the NIL department, and then you're going to go there? You think that's going to alter UCLA's win total? Maybe it bumps it from 4.5 to 5.5. But I tell you what, this just had disaster red flags written all over it, and that's where it's trending for Nico. Day by day, it gets worse and worse. That teams are willing to say, no, we don't want to be a part of this. No, we're not going to pay that much. Well, the market is pretty barren right now. Most teams and programs have got their quarterbacks. The ones that don't, it's kind of a UCLA sort of crowd. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter. All that good stuff. Is Colorado, again, active in the portal? Of course they are. Of course they are. But are they actually getting better? And why on earth? What? Retiring jerseys in Boulder? Come on now. First, this episode brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Finding the right talent is what you need. That's what Upwork is there to do. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. So if you want to take your business to the next level, check out Upwork. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Check them out at Upwork.com. Colorado's active in the transfer portal. Sky is blue, clouds white, sun yellow, and hot. Yeah, these are all equally surprising things. Kevin Borba, Locked On Buffs, joining me here to discuss. Has Colorado gotten better so far with the spring transfer window and guys who they've had enter into the program? Because I like a couple of their additions, but then there are a couple of departures where I'm like, oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think they've gotten better. Honestly, we could touch on the departures real quick just because of the guys that left. I think there was like one that really hurts, and that's Isaiah Augusta, the running back who came in from Arkansas. And this isn't necessarily to say that he's a superstar by any means. I mean, Colorado had the worst rushing attack in college football last year, so don't know if any of them are actually like superstars. But he was like the best of the group. So losing him hurts. They lose Savion Riley, who was a safety that provided some depth, and I thought had a chance to start. But I really like their addition of Memphis offensive line transfer Xavier Hill. He could play inside, outside, was Memphis's highest graded player, has a ton of starts under his belt, was an All-American, like the conference type player. He could have been an All-American, right? Like,
yeah, I never thought about that before. I was an All-American selection. Oh, you're best in the country, best in the conference, not still good. Yeah. But I've never had that conflation before. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
So it's a little dicey there, right? It's like you could say it, but it's like you have to be a little careful. But either way, or I guess you could say all AAC honors.
Let's confuse the hell out of people, Kevin. Yeah, let's mess with them.
An All-American selection. He's massive. He is a large human being. And I think Colorado, even though they've brought in, he's 6'4", 325, by the way, for those keeping track at home. Colorado brought in, I think, 5 or 6 other linemen in the other portal. And I'm convinced that they're like, we're going to bring in so many linemen that we have to find a combination that's good. And I love that, right? Because when you give up, I think Shedeur was sacked 94 times in 2 years in Boulder, en route to getting his jersey retired. He fought.
We're talking about that today, by the way.
He fought through a lot, and that line was terrible, right? Had that line been average, I don't think there'd be any discussion if his jersey should be retired. And then they also went out and got wide receiver Sincere Brown, big dude out of Campbell, 6'5". He's kind of a mystery to me. He started his career at USF, had 1 catch in 2020 or 2021, then didn't register a stat for the next couple years, ends up at Campbell and just balls out. And 6'5", like I said, offer some size, and then they lost a receiver today from their recruiting class. So I think all in all, it's been a net positive, and I think they're far from done. Right? It's Coach Prime's. It's his prime time. No pun intended. Actually, pun intended.
I was gonna say that pun has to be intended. There's no way that was accidental. Oh, I just slipped it in there. It slipped out. I didn't know. But I look at what Colorado's done in the portal in the last couple of years, and I expect this every single cycle, winter portal cycle and spring portal cycle, because this is what they do. They have not leaned heavily into high school recruiting. They are building primarily through the portal, and you can think that has limited upside, but it's hard to argue with the results that he's had. Like, if you took away all the offseason chatter about Deion Sanders and all the stuff off the field and non-football, and you just looked at, hey, he inherited a 1-11 program with 2 winning seasons in the last 20 years, and he went from 1-11 to 4-8, from 4-8 to 9-4. You'd say this is an upward trajectory, and that he's doing the right things. He's got a contract extension, of course, as a result of that. So I understand why he's continuing to go down this road, being so heavy in the portal, because, well, I mean, it's worked so far. Now, there's a slight difference when you're in this situation and you don't have a top 10 pick at quarterback and the number 1 player in his class who goes on to win the Heisman Trophy as a receiver and corner. When you don't have those 2 guys who are a big part of what you did, that's now that makes this somewhat of a measuring stick sort of year. Like, okay, what you got? I think for that reason, Colorado is a slight pullback team. I don't think Deion is incapable of succeeding without them. I just think those two guys were so heavily involved, and they were such a big part of what Colorado did last year. I don't think they're going to be able to get to that 8-9 win threshold. I think that's going to be tough. I don't think their schedule is super easy. They've got to play Georgia Tech, who's a really good team, and they're going to be working in a new quarterback, whether that's Juju Lewis or Caden Salter. So I think that they've done some nice things in the portal. I talked about Sincere Brown on the show a while back when he first entered and thought, this guy's kind of an intriguing prospect, bit of an unknown. I don't think that they have brought in such a haul of talent, though, that you feel, no Shedeur, no Travis Hunter, they're fine.
Yeah, I think it's a lot harder to build around a team when you don't have two, we'll call them first-round picks, because obviously we don't know where Shedeur is going.
That's what they are.
Yeah, 2 first-round picks, 2 potential top 5, top 10 picks. It gets difficult, but at the same time, I've liked the progress they've made in the portal. It seems like there's an actual method this time around compared to the very first 4-8 experiment, where it was just like take anyone that breathes that has interest in Colorado. Now they're being selective, and I think that's going to work in their favor. And I do think the difficult part about building this team now is you have to find guys who, I think you moneyball Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, right? You bring in Caden Salter and you bring in Juju Lewis. You're doing so hoping that one of them is going to be really good. So that way you don't have to sort of have an implosion at quarterback. Travis Hunter, you have to moneyball the hell out of him, right? You don't get to just replace a top tier corner and receiver easily, right?
You got to recreate him in the aggregate. That's what you mean by moneyball.
Yes, correct. You need someone who gets on base.
Yeah. What does he do?
He gets on base. But yeah, I think the combination of having a method works, right? They're going after experienced guys, some of them with extra eligibility, which makes it a little bit of a long-term investment. And then I think Deion Sanders, like you said, winning games, I also think that helps, right? I think there's no more mystique. There's no more mystery to, does this work? Because guys want to play for Colorado, and they have wanted to play for Colorado, but there's always been 2 holdups. One, it's does this really work, or is it just like a fluke? And 2, is Deion Sanders going to stay long enough for me to be a part of this? And so Colorado's answered both of those questions this offseason and this past season. I think we're going to see a lot more from them in the spring portal because there's a lot of big names out there, and one of them who just came off the board was Nico to UCLA. Apparently, just got that.
Is that breaking as we're recording the segment?
Breaking news.
Because Colin Coward had tweeted that it was.
It's from him. It's a done deal. I thought it was something else.
Okay, yeah, okay. I was wondering if we were breaking a little news. Yeah, peek behind the curtain. Podcast segments get recorded all over the place, but we have to close with this if we're talking Colorado, Kevin, because I'm just every time I start to get in the camp of people are criticizing Deion too hard. He's a good guy. He wants the best for the kid. I think he does have those qualities, but Shedeur and Travis having their numbers retired is crazy. That's crazy. It's it's such an epitome of why people don't like Colorado, and Deion doesn't care. He doesn't need to. Fine, but. When you wonder, if anyone ever wonders, like, man, why do people hate on Colorado? This right here. You're retiring the 2 numbers of, yes, a Heisman Trophy winner. Tim Tebow's number isn't retired, by the way. Tim Tebow. One of the biggest names in the history of college football, who also won a national championship, doesn't have his number retired at a program bigger than Colorado and more famous than the Buffs, historically speaking. But Travis and Shedeur, 9-4 and hang it in the rafters. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I think this is a complex situation, right? I talked about this on my show, and I'm very lukewarm on the situation because, one, if we're being honest, I don't think anyone's upset about Travis Hunter's jersey being retired, right? He is a generational college football player. I think we all agree. It's very rare that you see someone. It's never happened, at least in our lifetime. And when football helmets have face masks, it has not happened where someone has played receiver and corner, offense and defense, and dominated as much as he did. He wins the Heisman. He wins 8 major awards, right? Travis Hunter is legitimately a college football legend. I don't think you could tell the story of college football without Travis Hunter. I think where most people are upset about.
Okay, you can say that about any Heisman Trophy winner.
I could very
A
much
lot
tell
of Heisman Trophy winners don't have their numbers retired.
I could tell the story of college football without Jameis. I could tell it without Mark Ingram. Like, I'm talking about guys.
How do you wait. Jameis won a national championship at Florida State.
I mean, that's true. I'm just like, you're not gonna like, if someone's like, give me the highlights of college football, are you gonna be like, there was this guy Jameis Winston back in the day? Who are you more likely to bring up, Travis or Jameis?
More likely to bring up Johnny Manziel than either one. What's your point?
Another good one, right? Johnny Manziel probably should have his jersey retired if he doesn't.
He doesn't have his jersey number retired at Texas A&M, I don't think.
Here's the thing, and let me get back to it. I think most people are upset with Shedeur's number being retired, and I get that. And I have multiple stances on this, so we'll walk through each one. For starters, every college football program, like Spencer mentioned, Florida State, Texas A&M, they all have different standards, right? It's not a universal, like, hey, if you win this amount of games, win this amount of awards, and you do this at our program, you graduate or whatever, you'll get your jersey retired, right? Not every program has that. Some programs have retired legends, and some have not, right? Tim Tebow, Graham Mertz wore his number last year, right? Graham Mertz. No disrespect to Graham Mertz, but Graham Mertz. Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty has not had his number retired at LSU, and he is generationally, I think, one of the best quarterbacks we have seen, and no retirement there, right? Other guys have walked through college football, had their numbers retired. And then there's been a guy like Phillip Rivers who had a very solid career. This guy on Twitter attacked me because I compared him to Shedeur, and Shedeur statistically has way better numbers than Phillip Rivers, but Phillip Rivers' number was retired while he was active. He was in shoulder pads while he got his number retired. So I think there's different standards for everyone. I think in terms of Shedeur getting his number retired, the part that most Colorado fans have outrage with is there's Darian Hagan. There's a bunch of legends that have come before him, Cordell Stewart, that have not had their numbers retired. And I think the hard part about this is that's on Colorado, right? That is not on Deion Sanders. Now, Deion Sanders could say, hey, retire their jerseys, but now it's just a little too late for that, right? That's been on Colorado. They had all this time, right? Rashad Salam, everyone remember him, the Heisman winner for Colorado, didn't get his jersey retired until he died. He died. It was like 20 years later. That's on Colorado for not recognizing him sooner.
I guess.
You have to blame the program. Don't blame, and this is the hard part about it, people are blaming Shedeur and Travis as if they like petitioned for this and said, hey, I'm starting a GoFundMe to retire my jersey. Like, they didn't do that.
Well, I mean, if they didn't want it to happen, I imagine it wouldn't happen.
Right, but I just think they both change the trajectory of the program. You can no longer talk about Colorado football without talking about them. And it's one of those things where they are legends for Colorado, and to Colorado that means something. Does it mean the same thing at Texas? Probably not. Does it mean the same thing at Ohio State?
Yeah, okay. Not. All right. I hear your point. Up next in jersey retirement, Sam Leavitt at Arizona State changed the trajectory of the program.
Cam Scatterby, baby.
Yeah. Cam Scatterby. Yeah, those two guys are next. Micah Hudson is not next for a major college football program. First, this episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. And if you're listening to or watching the show, you probably like college football, right? You want to bet on college football? You can do just that because you've got win totals, national title odds, conference championship odds, Heisman odds, all that and everything you can want, even individual games, which are about 4.5 months away. You can bet on those over at FanDuel.com. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Check them out at FanDuel.com. All right, here's another big name that has turned into a disastrous situation. Micah Hudson is one of two former five-star receivers that I don't see ever playing a role in college football. Not in a significant way. They're not going to be playing for teams that you want to watch on Saturdays this fall because this is sort of a microcosm and offshoot of the whole Nico debacle because what you have with Micah Hudson is a variety of situations. But what you really have, like off the field, I'm not going to speak to every single incident here, and I'll tell you the other guy in a moment. But What's starting to happen, I mentioned this earlier on the show, Fran Brown at Syracuse publicly came out and said, not paying a wide receiver $2 million. Not going to do it. Then Tennessee was the first to say, yeah, we're not paying a guy for it. We're not just going to give in just because you're talented. It is, I think this is overall good for the sport. There are going to be some sacrificial lambs in this regard. But I think you are going to see a double and tripling down from college football coaches across the country when it comes to mega talents. That if you are a headache, we're not putting up with it. Some coaches have always been this way. But I think in the transfer portal era, what you have seen is a tendency for teams and programs to maybe take a chance or a flyer on a guy because, well, he's talented and we got to win games and we got to do. No, I think we're seeing a course correction here. So my prediction is Micah Hudson, as a former 5-star receiver in the 2024 class, never plays meaningful football at the Power 4 level. Same goes for Jonte Cook, who couldn't figure it out at Texas, goes to Washington, some off-field incidents, no longer with the program. These guys coming out of high school, all the talent in the world. But I think teams are shifting towards the Fran Brown approach to, no, we're not paying that much for one particular player at wide receiver. Or the Tennessee approach, no, we're not going to just cave in here. Or frankly, what Jed Fish at Washington said with regards to Jonte Cook. I don't know about anything he said publicly, but the message was loud and clear. Yeah, you're incredibly talented. Not going to put up with the headaches. I think coaches and administrations get fed up with all that sort of stuff, and they want guys who are going to be positive contributors to the locker room. And overall, I think that's good for college football. I think that's good for kids to be wary of, hey, I can't go in and act like the man and make demands and do whatever I want. No, I have to go and be a good teammate. I have to be responsible. I have to be a contributor to the program and understand I'm part of the whole, and the whole is not responsible to cater to me and all of my needs. So this saga has gone on. If you don't know, by the way, he was, I believe, the highest rated wide receiver commit in the history of Texas Tech football for 2024. Didn't do a whole heck of a lot his first year. Goes to Texas A&M in the winter transfer portal window. And then it was announced he's no longer with the team. I think he's just going to be hanging out there. He could be playing Group of 5 football. Heck, he could be playing FCS football by the time August and September roll around. Won't know for sure. But I think that is absolutely a part of the course correction that I've sensed for a while is kind of coming. That we've swung the pendulum all the way over to the player's side. It's going to swing back. It needs to settle in the middle. It needs to settle in the middle. That's the best place for college sports, that you have a healthy dynamic between organizations, teams, coaches, athletic directors, schools, whoever, acting in their own best interests while not taking advantage of the players financially and giving them a piece of that, but also the players understanding, hey, I'm still coming here to be a part of a team. I'm not coming here to be my own sideshow and to just do whatever the heck I want. I think that course correction is starting to get rolling. And guess what? I'm here for it. I think a lot of you are going to be here for it as well. I think there are a lot of fans out there that get fed up with this stuff that want to see Josh Heupel or Fran Brown or whichever coach in college football say, no, I'm not putting up with that. That's not something I'm going to just accommodate just because you're a talented player. We'll figure out something else. But culture matters, and it's a harder thing to establish when you have as much roster turnover as you do on a year-to-year basis nowadays. But I think that this is absolutely moving in the right direction back to the center. So, Micah Hudson, Jonte Cook, don't expect to be hearing a lot from them in the coming years, maybe for the rest of their careers. And I think that's too bad. I hope they're able to learn lessons and be better as a result. So, a couple other of portal notes. John Emery Jr. is in the transfer portal. I tell you what, he's going into his 7th year of college football, former 5-star recruit. I think he's withdrawn from the portal and gone back to LSU and been in and out like 18 times by now, but he's out there reportedly going in the port. 7th year of college football. There will be a day where 0 college athletes are gaining eligibility because of the COVID year and such. I think we're all kind of looking forward to that day. because some of this stuff gets a little excessive. Let's be honest. Like 7th year, but hey, the NCAA says he's good to go. All right, you go, Glenn Coco. So John Emery Jr. is still out. I don't think he's got the ability, because of the injuries he's unfortunately suffered in his career, to go be a high impact player necessarily at a Power 4 school. He might wind up at one. He could be a good number 2 back, perhaps. Like, he was a 5-star recruit once upon a time for a reason. But another name to know is Blake Steen. The offensive tackle market is really hot in the transfer portal. Frankly, offensive linemen in general. I talked about Auburn's SEC all-freshman selection that went into the portal on yesterday's show. But Blake Steen, offensive tackle from Virginia, guy is ready to slide into a football program better than Virginia and be a starting tackle. I believe he's made most of his starts at right tackle, but I look around and the tackle market is kind of hot. There's perhaps no better example of that than Joe Cotton. So this is someone who I've talked about on the show before, South Dakota transfer, Joe Cotton, coming from an offensive line that helped lead South Dakota to the FCS semifinals last year. So he has quickly become, according to Chris Hummer, one of the most popular names in the transfer portal. His interest list, not necessarily offer, but interest list, looks like this. Just hold on to your hats. Again, he's coming from South Dakota, but has drawn interest from, reportedly, Alabama, Baylor, Cal, Cincinnati, Colorado, Florida. That's the first line. Georgia Tech, Iowa, Kansas, Kansas State, Louisville, Michigan, Mississippi State, Oklahoma State, Ole Miss, Penn State, Purdue, Syracuse, Maryland, South Carolina, UCF, USC, Missouri, Vanderbilt, don't overlook Vanderbilt, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. Every now and then, I tell you about guys that might be flying under the radar, and then they pop up on the show. Like I just blanked on Sincere Brown. Yeah, sometimes your brain just freezes for a moment. That's what happened right there. Sincere Brown came from Campbell. Might be talking about a couple guys on the show tomorrow coming from the FCS ranks. FCS ranks getting hit pretty hard because there are a lot of big-time capable players down there playing FCS college football. Look, as someone who calls FCS football games, I tell you, they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun, and there are a lot of really, really good players. I mean, David Walker from Central Arkansas is about to be a top 3 or 4 round pick in the NFL draft at defensive end. So that's the market for Joe Cotton. Tackles, always in high demand. And right now, in the transfer portal, it's kind of a hot position. Just watch for Vanderbilt. That's where Cotton's offensive line coach went. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.